This is the Demystifying Crypto and Building Wealth podcast.
I knew that would be worth trillions.
That had never existed in human history. There's been massive opportunities.
The #1 podcast to help you understand and get insights into the crypto world, blockchain technology, wealth building, and financial investing. Now, here's your host, Tico Tiwari, the world's #1 most trusted cryptocurrency analyst and Wall Street veteran with decades of experience in the financial space.
Welcome. Let's give everybody a couple of minutes to come on as they are being alerted that I'm now live. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on today. Bitcoin under a lot of pressure, the entire ecosystem under a lot of pressure right now. And again, even if you're an old hand at this type of volatility can be worrying. It's really easy to doubt yourself. And so I want to talk a little bit about today about what's going on, some of the emotional upheaval that you might be going through, and just give you the right frame to get through this. By the way, those of you who have yet to join me at my new service, go to 500xcoin.com. We had some technical snafus to begin with, but we sorted those out. And you can go to 500xcoin.com and you can watch my presentation. The special pricing that I'm offering is going to expire on midnight Friday. So my new premium newsletter service is up and running. You can go to 500xcoin.com to watch the presentation, to sign up. I've got very special pricing there for my previous members, but it is only going to be eligible until midnight Friday. Okay. All right, fantastic. Good to have you, Glenn. Okay, let's do a wristwatch check. I haven't done one of those in a little bit. This is a new one I just got. It's a German watch. It is a Lange Odysseus, and this is a watch that I first got exposed to late 2019 in Zurich. I was at the Lange dealer, and I wanted to buy one, and they wanted to bundle me into a watch I didn't want to buy that was over 100 grand. So I said, no, I'll wait. So I ended up picking this up on the aftermarket, still over retail, but it's a watch I've wanted for years, and it's just lovely. I love it. Okay, so let's get things kicked off. So first things first, let's talk about the weakness that we are seeing in the overall market. Now, for those of you that get my commentaries, which I have commentary that I give away for free, which you can get at TiwariResearchGroup.com. You can go to TiwariResearchGroup.com. I put out at least 3 commentaries a week there. Love you too, Big Bud. Thank you. I talked about what was behind some of this weakness, and primarily what it is, it's you have the Mount Gox, which was a huge exchange years ago, has gone through a 10-year bankruptcy process, and they're about to give back about 140,000 Bitcoin to people that had their Bitcoin stolen from them. Now, these are people that have had no liquidity for 10 years, and the fear, rightfully, is that people are going to say, well, you know, originally when I owned this Bitcoin, it was $600. Now it's $60,000. This is life-changing money. I'm going to sell and cash in my chips. And so you have to think about this from the perspective of a market maker. If you're a market maker in Bitcoin, or if you're looking to buy a large amount of Bitcoin, and you know that there's a $9 billion overhang of Bitcoin from Mount Gox, there's a $3 billion overhang of Bitcoin from the German government that has Bitcoin that they've seized that they want to sell, and there's $250 million worth of Bitcoin that the US government has just sent to Coinbase that they want to sell. Well, you're not going to set up the bid at 62 or 61. You're going to pull your bid back, and you're going to say, okay, there are sellers out there that are impatient sellers. So I want to buy, and I'm a patient buyer, so I'm going to wait. And I'm in this situation myself. I have probably anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000 that I want to use to acquire more Bitcoin. From a selfish standpoint, I would love to see Bitcoin go to the 200-day moving average, which is around 52K. Now, I know everybody watching here probably is going to say, no, Tika, I do not want to see 52K Bitcoin. But it all depends upon your perspective. Here's what I know. I know that we are early in this bull cycle. I know that in the first year of a Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin is incredibly volatile, as is the entire altcoin space. I know that if Bitcoin goes down to 52K, I'm going to probably triple my money on it by this time next year. I also know that the alts will get hammered lower and I'll make 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, in rare cases 500x on my money on altcoins going into next year. So it all depends upon your perspective and knowing where you are in the cycle. If we were late cycle, a year and a half past the halving, the tone of my conversation with you today would be very different. It would be hyper cautious. But the halving only happened 2.5 months ago. So we are very, very early in this bull market cycle. So any volatility that occurs here, for me, is a gift. Now, you might not perceive it that way through fear. I understand. What I would welcome you to do is go through and look at the charts from 2020. Look at how Bitcoin traded. Bitcoin would have 20 and 30% moves in a 2-week period for no reason. For no reason whatsoever. It's just the nature of the asset. So for me, the way I view this volatility this early in the cycle is a gift. And I can guarantee you, nobody on this IG Live owns more crypto than me. No one has more of their net worth in crypto than me. No one sees their net worth fluctuate more in a day than me. So I want you to know that I put my money where my mouth is. This is not, just somebody talking a bunch of nonsense. I have tens of millions of dollars of my own wealth in crypto assets. Enormous amounts of money. Enormous for me. Maybe not if you're Bill Gates. Okay, question is about ETH timing on the ETF. It could be this month, could be next month, but to me it's a done deal. We will have an Ethereum ETF. We'll probably have a Solana ETF. We're going to see a slew of ETFs come into this space. Since 2017, what I have said is that the economic incentives are aligned in a way where Wall Street will want to financialize this asset class. And what I mean by that is they'll put equity wrappers on crypto tokens so equity money can get involved in the crypto ecosystem. That is something that I have believed in for years, something that I have talked about and said would happen for years, and we are in the very, very, very early stages of that. Okay, let's have a look here. Somebody says, I think Bitcoin will return back to 30K before the pool run. I don't think that happens. If it does happen, I'll be in there and I'll be a buyer. But for us to go from 30K to 60K, you'd have to have an extreme external event take place. Something on the magnitude of COVID or some kind of crazy hack or some kind of weird bug in the Bitcoin code. It would have to be something pretty extreme to drop 50% from here. Okay, question is, when you take profits, do you sell to BTC or ETH or to a stable coin or all the way to fiat? It's a great question. Late cycle, it's to fiat. Early to mid cycle, it's to BTC. Okay, I also want to talk a little bit about Japan. Sony, the big electronics maker, came out and announced that they are going to be they had bought a crypto exchange, and now they are actually going to rebrand that crypto exchange and run their own crypto exchange. So essentially, the Coinbase of Japan will be backed by Sony. That's a big deal that no one's looking at. That's a really, really, really big deal. Japan has a huge problem right now. Their currency is collapsing in value. It's dropped somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of its value over the last 5 years. You want to look at what a currency crisis looks like. Go take a look at Japan. The buying power of the Japanese yen is collapsing. It's almost at a 40-year low. It's unbelievable how much the Japanese yen is getting destroyed. And so I think Sony sees here an opportunity that people want a way to sidestep out of the yen into something that can't be debased, which of course is Bitcoin. So I think, to me, this is very interesting that Sony's stepping into this marketplace. They have huge brand name recognition, huge trust in Japan, and I mean that market, the Bitcoin and the crypto trading market, really is theirs to lose. So it'll be interesting to see how good a job they do onboarding the everyday Japanese investor into the crypto markets. Other than that, really the big themes that I want you to focus on, especially on the days when we're down, if we get a 58,000 print, a $55,000 print, a $52,000 print, I want you to focus on what is the overarching driver for higher crypto prices. The American government is spending 40% more money than they take in. They are debasing the value of the dollar at a rate that we have not seen since the 1970s. In the 1970s, the single best way to preserve your buying power was to buy gold. And gold has certainly done fairly well in the last 3 years. It's doubled in price. Bitcoin has 4x'd in price over that same period of time. Bitcoin will be the refuge for every level of money that there is, from the small investors to the medium investor to the institution. Everyone is beginning to wake up to the fact that the American dollar is getting debased. Now, if you're not familiar with how currency debasement works, you look at the US dollar index, you say, how can you say that the dollar is dying or the dollar is declining in value when it's strengthening against every other fiat currency? So something I've said since 2011, the American dollar it's the skinniest fat guy in a room full of unhealthy fat guys. And so what's happening is that because interest rates are so high in America relative to the rest of the world, people are dumping their other currencies and coming to the dollar, which is making the dollar stronger relative to other currencies. But if you look at the buying power of the American dollar in the United States, it's dropping, and it's dropping dramatically, right? If you look at the average everyday person in America, they're struggling because they can't keep up with the prices of things. Now, it's not so much that we're suffering from problems that we had during COVID of there being shortages of supplies or bottlenecks and logistical bottlenecks getting products to market. All of that is gone. So then why are prices still going up? Because we're issuing so much paper. That's why the government is debasing the dollar by issuing so many bonds, right? If you overspend and you overissue dollars, either directly through quantitative easing, through the Federal Reserve, or through issuing an enormous amount of debt, you're going to reduce the value of the dollar. Yes, a dollar is still worth the dollar, but a dollar doesn't buy you a dollar's worth of goods. Right? It now buys you something around 75 cents worth of goods of what it did 4 years ago. By the end of the decade, it might buy you 50 cents or 40 cents worth of goods of what it did before. And so that theme is going to continue. This will be a decade of debasement, and that will provide the underpinning for significantly higher prices for Bitcoin. And as Bitcoin goes, so goes the entire crypto ecosystem. So I want you to remember that. Play this video back, especially on the bad days. You have to know that the government is doing everything in its power to pump up the price of our assets. And they're not going to change. I think there's a question here on the miners. I own the miners. I've owned them for a long time. I don't know that they are the best play right now in terms of lowest risk, highest reward. It's Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think there's some great value in the alts. I would like to see, if I saw a really cathartic sell-off in Bitcoin, down to the 200-week moving average, that's when I think the miners would be interesting. You got to buy the miners when everybody thinks that they're going out of business. That's a mistake I made in the past. Buying the miners on the upswing. You've got to buy the miners when absolutely nobody wants to buy them. Okay, do we have any questions in closing? Because I don't think I have too much more here to add. Okay, so this is from Bud Big. As the yen bleeds against the USD and they let go American bonds, could that be the black swan that could trigger you looking for 32K? Well, I'm not looking for 32K Bitcoin. Let me be clear. I don't think we go to 32K Bitcoin. But if the Japanese start dumping bonds, interest rates will go up dramatically. And all assets will sell off. Stocks will sell off, crypto will sell off, everything will sell off. So what will happen from there is, and I'm just game planning out loud, is what will the Federal Reserve do? Well, the Federal Reserve will probably have to engage in some form of quantitative easing, where they go into the bank and basically buy bonds directly from the Bank of Japan, or engage in some form of yield curve control, which is very, very bullish for Bitcoin. So maybe you get something that we saw during COVID, an immediate sell-off, which is an incredible buying opportunity. You then get the Federal Reserve riding in to save the day, and then you get a crazy rally in risk assets. It's a very good question. Thoughts on Sol? I think it's going higher. No, I've never said that I'm not a fan of staking. I've never said that. I just said it's a bit of a pain, but I'm not anti-staking. Okay, I think that's it. All right. Now, if you are a member of mine and you have some customer service questions, just go to send an email to tawariresearchcs@gmail.com. tawariresearchcs@gmail.com if you're an existing subscriber, and I have my team will be able to answer any questions that you have there. Okay, I think that's it. Friends, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, one thing I do want to share with you is that I'm only going to be doing these lives for a little bit more, and then I'm pondering about just keeping this just for my paying subscribers. So if you enjoy these weekly updates and you want to get more, and you want to also get my ideas, I strongly recommend you go to 500xcoin.com, watch my event video, and if it makes sense for you, sign up. The lowest price available will be available until Friday, midnight of this week, and then the price will go up, and then eventually I'm going to close for new members, and probably not going to continue doing lives. So I'm going to do lives maybe for a few more weeks, and then I want to transition over exclusively to my paying members, because they're paying me money and they're paying to have total access to me and first access to me, and I really respect that, and I want to continue to respect that. Okay, friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch up with you in the next video, and I want you to always remember, let the game come to you.
So that concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. You can find the show notes on www.tikatiwari.com. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with others, talk about it on social media, and leave a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss another episode. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.